A collector on Reddit decided to submit 100 cards over to tag grading in order to do an unbiased experiment, 15 of which were actually PSA slabs. The results would shock you. Out of the 15 PSA slabs, all of them either maintained the same grade or upgraded. As you can see, this Bubble Mew went from a 9 to a 10, Charizard from 151, 9 to 10, and even Vintage wasn't graded, too strictly, 9 to a 9. Now,
Well, there you go. This is going to be a very interesting topic to talk about, and honestly, I'm kind of not surprised. I'm going to go ahead and start by saying I told you so. Earlier on, a couple months ago, whenever I started YouTube, like really taking this channel a lot more serious, I told you guys, I told my audience, my subscribers, saying that tag perception is going to change with time. And the only way that's going to happen is that as long as more content creators keep talking, advertising, and seeing the flaws or advertising the flaws of the other grading companies, people are going to start seeing the real value with tag. Now, this video by TheCardScience. I mean, if you guys follow him on Instagram or TikTok, please go ahead and like his videos. Just like his videos, drop a comment like, "Hey, just Dan sent us," because I do like content creators who talk more about news and certain topics that are happening in the hobby, the underlining topics, and not necessarily like market prices and market watch. So yeah. 100 cards were graded through tag. Nothing crazy. Some people do that all the time. 15 of them were PSA 9s that were re-cracked and graded with tag. And the surprises are a little bit, they're interesting. So we're going to go ahead and talk about it. But whenever we're talking about this, look, I reached out to a couple of my subscribers and I asked for their input. And the subscribers that I asked, they're like subscribers that we kind of already talked about before in this channel, and they have different mindsets, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give you the perspective of Tag Chill, also formerly known as Classic EverQuest. He is a content creator that you guys can go ahead and follow if you guys are looking for more data and what he's grading and what to be expecting whenever you're grading with cards. He does a lot of trial and error when it comes to the grading with tag, right? But his channel is mostly based on right now from tag grading and like just learning how you can beat the AI system, right? Or trying to get them in as most hands as possible and what to expect with WotC era cards or modern day cards. But he really focuses on WotC cards. The second perspective I'm going to give you guys is going to be from the subscriber from our channel's scalper investor, Chris. We've already talked about it before, and like I said, he's one of my co-workers, and I asked for his input, and he told me what he thought about this video and what does he think about the future growth of tag. And the last person that we're going to be talking about is going to be B. Ryan Kisser. He is someone that's kind of new into the hobby, and for the most part, he's extremely skeptical about grading in general, whether it's subjective or objective. He just doesn't, not that he doesn't understand, but he just doesn't see how a card being graded through a company can increase the value of it so much whenever nothing in this world is like perfect or consistent, right? So let's go ahead and talk about Tag Chill, also known as Classic EverQuest. Whenever I ask them, hey man, I want you to see this video and can you go ahead and give me your perspective of this topic? And one of the things that he got from it is, well, obviously, if you guys watch the whole entire video, is going to be talking about how grading, for the most part, with tag, they see it as more lenient. Now, as someone like myself who has graded a good amount of cards through tag, we're talking about multiple bulk submissions through tag, there are certain things that we kind of can see whenever these cards are getting graded, and for the most part we are testing to see what we can get away with, right? One of the things that he did mention is if you grade through tag, your centering has to be perfect. Your centering has to be within the parameters. We're talking about 45-55 top and bottom, 45-55 left to right. The back a little bit more lenient, but if your card is not centered within the parameters, it stands no shot of being a tag 10. And if it's not within that 49 to 51 centering, it stands no shot for being a pristine 10. So in that, we do agree. We do believe that when it comes to tag grading, centering is one of the most biggest focus when it that they emphasize, right? Whenever we're talking about it, he did admit that sometimes he feels like tag system or the tag scan can be a little bit more lenient when it comes to like surface flaws, whether if it's scratches or anything of that nature, especially like on WotC era cards where you have what's called like a lot of dead hollow space, right? And that area tends to get scratched up fairly easy. And maybe even like surface lines or scratches in the backside of the card. So we do acknowledge that. Personally, I feel that whenever you're grading with tag, that depending on the rarity of the card, you might be able to get away with one white corner. Whether if it's an art rare, whether if it's an SAR, one white corner, you might be able to get away with that. One ding, two dings, maybe. If the card has texture, I feel like it's a lot more forgiving. If the corners are kind of cut wrong, and then I don't think you really stand a chance. And we both agree that they're very hard on like the edging, some of the whitening, but like you can get away with a little surface damage, a little surface flaw. Now we've had certain cards that kind of illustrate this issue. Earlier in one of my previous episodes, I talked about how one of the promo cards, one of the Charizard promo cards, they had a pretty nasty little scratch in the back of the card, yet it didn't look like the tag scan or the tag AI graded it. But maybe this has to do for the factor that you need to submit more cards to tag grading for that system to start learning more and more and more and to see what's within the parameters of a good tag 10 card per that card, right? Because every single card is going to be completely different. There's going to be different art styles by different artists, right? So the things are going to get looked at differently. But the more that we grade through tag, the stricter the AI grading is going to get. So that was Tag Chill's perspective. Like I said, he grades a lot of cards, a lot of vintage cards. So if you guys are looking for a little bit more, guidance about that, I recommend going to his channel, subscribing, and just letting him know that, hey, Dan just sent you. Now, let's talk about the channel scalper slash flipper, Chris. He's my coworker. And I showed him the video and I asked him, what do you think? And he told me with a face, like a dead on straight face, he's like, it's a good video. And then he followed up by saying, if you want the more detailed answer, you're going to have to pay me. You just got the free trial answer, so you're going to have to pay me in order so I can give you my points. I'll give you 1 point for $7, or I'll give you 2 points for $10. So, I try to negotiate with them and, scalpers do scalper things. I ended up paying $10 so I can get his input. And this is what he was telling me. He's like, look, man, right now there's a lot of money to be made in this hobby, and you got to take of opportunities whenever you see them. You got to sometimes beat the crowd and like try to jump into something, because things kind of pop off down the road. What it's not popular now is going to be popular later. And we're talking about cards in general. We're even going to be talking about grading, right? So whenever he told me, like, look, when it comes to this whole entire situation with certain PSA 9s going to tag, right? He liked the fact that these cards are liquid on eBay, and he says that is extremely essential. That these cards that were ex PSA 9s being graded as tag 10s go online on eBay and they sell. That's extremely important. The more that these cards sell online, then the better chance you're going to be able to go to a vending show, to a card shop, turn in your product and get some money out of it. Now, I asked him, are you planning of doing this? And then once again, he looked me straight in my eyes and started laughing. It's like, hell no. I'm going to let the poor collectors do that, because they're going to get hit with eBay's fees and the shipping. Right, I want to maximize my profit, so I'm going to be holding on to all my tag slabs for whenever we do vending shows, and I'm planning of selling them at 110 to 120%, because they're going to be low population slabs. And I'm like, cool, I'm down. Sounds good. I want to see you do it. I want to see it, make it happen, right? So then it's like, okay, what's your other point? And he's like, look, if people like the card science is advertising saying that tag grading is a little bit more lenient, then take advantage of it. If he hasn't tried it, then don't listen to him. But if you're seeing other people who are doing mass bulk submissions that are saying tag grading is a little bit more lenient in certain things, you might have a solid PSA 9 copy in your guys' collection, then maybe you should really consider cracking, because you see a little bit of surface scratch or surface damage that maybe the tag AI grading will not pick up. So therefore, you could potentially turn that PSA 9 into a tag 10 with no upcharge, right? The only thing is now he does think that the best way to do this is go and pay for the score, get the score, so that way you have a better chance of getting a tag 10, right? Because he strongly believes that whenever you incorporate the score of 150 and above, your card has to be pretty perfect or pretty good in order to get a tag 10. So take advantage. If the system is really more lenient, then take advantage of it. Grade it. I mean, we did just talk about that tag increase their prices to maybe kind of turn down or slow down the turnaround rate, right? Because it's taking forever. But, you know, maybe really consider cracking some of your PSS 9 and grading them to tag in order to get that tag grade. And this is coming from a scalper, from a flipper, from my channel subscriber, Chris. Now, I went to the last person, also a co-worker, someone that I constantly rip packs with because he's new into the hobby and he likes it, and that's going to be B. Ryan Kisser. I showed him the video and I asked him, what do you think about this? The first thing that he says is like, I told you, man, I don't like grading. I don't like subjective grading. I think grading is a scam, whether if it's subjective or objective. You might be sending your cards at the wrong time. The wrong grader might be getting them, and if you catch them in a bad mood, then I'm not surprised why a lot of these cards are PSA 9s when they deserve the 10. It is stupid that we are letting other human beings who are prone to making mistakes, and this is his words, right? You're sending your cards to other human beings who are prone to making mistakes. Example number one, they work for PSA, right, as their full-time employee. And I'm like, bro, whoa, calm down, man. Like, don't take it out on them. Like, I understand you got shafted, right? But he's like, yeah, we're putting all their trust on them. They could potentially like just be in a bad mood and give you a 9 whenever your card deserves a 10, right? He doesn't like it. Does he believe that AI grading is the way? He also doesn't like, or he doesn't also believe that AI grading is also the way. He likes it when it's beneficial for him whenever his cards come back as a 10, but whenever his cards come back as a 9, it's like bullshit. My cards did not have that damage, because his cards are always perfect. I mean, he's new to the hobby, so every single card that he pulls is a perfect copy. Perfect centering, no damage, no issues, right? But he does like the fact that maybe since we are living in this world, in this very systematic world, that there's a fail proof. Like, you not only are you sending your cards grading through an AI computer, you also getting the second opinion. Like, they get a second glance by human graders, look at the card and see like, oh, this is the damage that it provided, or we can look at it, okay, yeah, it did or it didn't, right? So not only are you get the card getting graded by a computer, the card's also getting graded by some human help, right? So he does like about that. But he still thinks that all kind of grading, whether if it's tag or whether it's PSA, subjective or objective grading, that's a bunch of bullshit. Now, here's my theory. This is the last opinion that I'm going to leave you guys with. Here's my theory, right? Putting my conspiracy theory on. If this is true, and there's no real way of really testing this, because that means we would have to test every single PSA 9 and grade them with tag to kind of get this kind of information to prove this theory, is that this kind of maybe does support the fact that PSA does practice population control. If you guys saw in the video, we're talking about a Bubble Mew that was a 9 going to a tag 10. We're talking about the 151 Fat Charizard that was a 9 going into a 10. Couple vintage cards were 99. That really doesn't matter, but the ones that really do matter are going to be the modern chase cards, right? There's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's a lot of chatter saying that PSA purposely controls population of certain cards for multiple reasons. Reason number one is if you have a strong 10 copy, you feel strongly about that and you send it for grading, PSA is not only going to make money, from the submission fee, but they're also going to make money from the upcharge fee, right? Especially depending on whenever the card gets graded, right? Because value changes, cards go up and down, but that upcharge is always there. He's like, so they're going to get money from their submission fee. PSA has absolutely nothing to lose if they send you back a 9, right? Because you could be like, no, this is bullshit. This is this is a 10. I know it's a 10. I always pull nothing but 10s. I'm going to recrack it. I'm going to send it to PSA because I know I'm right and it's going to come back as a 10. And congratulations, it does come back as a 10. What does that mean? Well, it means that fucking PSA charge you twice. You guys are kind of idiot for giving them the money twice. Sometimes it's just better to do it once and be done with it. But this is the kind of inconsistencies that you get with human subjective grading, right? Maybe we don't know that, right? Because every single PSA grader is under an NDA, right? And the ones that we get only give us partial information, right? But here's the thing. We don't really know what's going on behind closed doors, right? We don't know if they have a certain quota of how many 10s they gotta hit, how many 9s they gotta hit, or what's the monthly revenue. At the end of the day, if they're sending you guys back 9s and you strongly feel like they deserve 10s, you're gonna pay that fee all over again. Like the dumbasses that you could be, right? Hopefully you're not anymore. But but like sheeps that you guys are, grading it with PSA and paying the second submission fee, right? Because even if it comes back as a 10 and like, yeah, I won, bro, PSA won because they managed to charge you twice. So really think about that. So like I said, we don't have enough information to say that this is true, that PSA controls the population. But if certain 9s are coming back graded as 10s through tag, then maybe there's a little bit of merit behind that, right? So it's very interesting. This video was actually kind of interesting, kind of fun to talk about it with other collectors. It's just, I'm like, I like where the hobby is at, that we can have conversations like this, especially in conversations when there's a lot of big money. Because look, a lot of the new people who are jumping into the hobby are chasing that money, right? And there's a good chance that the new people will continue grading with PSA because PSA has always been the gold standard or the norm in the last 5 to 6 years, right? But before that, don't be fooled. It was Beckett. It was SGC. It was CGC for a moment. Every single grading company had their spotlight. PSA might have capitalized and done the best moves to blow up their business to the levels that they are now. But don't be surprised if, with all this negative narrative that keeps going with PSA, with every single scandal, every single day, news story here, news story there, right? That other people might be going, or more seasoned collectors, people that have been in the hobby longer, go with another grading company such as Tag, right? But those are my thoughts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of Higher Thoughts, or Elevated Thoughts, we like to call them, where I'm just helping you try to expand your mind and like help you think before you guys make a big financial decision whenever it comes to grading your cards. As the hobby continues to grow, it seems like these companies will continue to raise their prices, right, to maximize their profits. So be careful what you guys are doing. Be smart. And do you guys really look at, and I want you guys to put yourself in that situation. Look at the eyes as someone who mass submits cards for grading in order to sell them online. Look at the eyes of a scalper slash flipper who sees opportunity to make money before other people jump on it and the margins shrink down. Look at the perspective at a new collector who likes raw cards, right, but doesn't believe that putting a card behind a nice looking plastic should double, triple, or sometimes 10x the value of the raw card. And just maybe like me, just like the crazy vet that I am, that believes that everything's a scam, that we live in the matrix, that, you should be doubting and asking questions for what everyone else is doing. But, if you guys enjoyed this video and you made it this far, just go ahead and like the button. That's all I care about. Just like the video. If you made it that far, thank you. Remember, on the comments, always post, or like, let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you feel about this video. If you haven't seen this video, go check it out and then come back and drop a comment. Aside from that, I really hope that you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys next time.